All right, and here we are, and we're welcoming Alison Mills here tonight. And Alison Mills Long is an International Sound Therapy Association certified therapeutic sound practitioner, formerly trained in music since childhood and culminating with a BA in music from Agnes Scott College in Decatur, Georgia. A lifelong love of music and sound combined with a passion for helping others led to training in complementary healing modalities. Alison is a Reiki Master, teacher, life coach, transpersonal neuro-linguistic practitioner, and ordained minister. She combines her many modalities, including guided meditations and dream analysis, to create unique experiences for each client. As a volunteer in the medical and hospice environment for over 17 years and project manager in the corporate environment for over 30 years, she relates intuitively and empathically to her clients' life experiences, ranging from stress, grief, and anger to life direction and greater self-awareness. Years of teaching and presenting for numerous corporate, medical, and civic organizations in her areas of expertise, in addition to her work with music and sound, inspired a project to create a self-help tool in order to assist more people. The result is her 2-disc debut CD, Ananda, which includes instrumental tracks for general purposes and guided meditations for forgiveness, tolerance, and courage. Her music is currently being used in a nationally ranked destination spa and in her personal work with cancer patients and autistic clients with positive results. Welcome, Alison Mills Long. How are you?
Thank you. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Well, we're here to talk about your Reiki today and all of your different modalities that you offer. You know, anyone in the world who might be interested in receiving some of your beneficial healing modalities.
Well, it's certainly a passion, a love. I've always enjoyed helping people. And, the first time I experienced it, it just blew me away. And that's what I tell others when they ask me, what is Reiki? And I'm like, I can tell you a few things, but the best explanation is for you to experience it for yourself. And so, especially lately, I've been doing a lot of what I would call mini sessions. And I do combine sound with the Reiki, and I explain to them which is which. But, even in a short mini session of like 15 minutes, where they open their eyes and are like, wow. So it's amazing. It's, and likewise with sound, I put a singing bowl in their hand and tap it. And I never get tired of the expression on people's faces. Their eyes just they're like, oh my goodness. And they feel that vibration. And it's just, I never get tired of that ever.
Yeah, exactly. So now, how long have you been a Reiki practitioner?
I'm in my 16th year. So I started out as a volunteer, in the hospice environment, and people started asking me to do private sessions, for them. And so that started the private session aspect of it. And then I, started to build clientele, and I kept it very quiet because I was still working in the corporate environment, and, officially started my business in 2008. And, it just kind of grew. And then, several months ago, I had the opportunity to exit that corporate matrix and pursue this, full time. I joke around here saying that I have totally come out of the closet as a holistic practitioner in town. So we speak openly and starting to advertise, and working out of my chiropractor's office and meeting so many people. And it's just been a huge blessing to educate people, on what this is, and to give them, these mini sessions, a little taste of it. And they're like, oh, I'll be back. I want to do a full hour. It's just amazing. It's so amazing.
Exactly. So now describe Reiki for the audience and the viewers. How would you describe Reiki if you had to give it a description, basically?
Well, I started by explaining that it's a Japanese term that means universal life force energy. And so most people have heard the word chi. They've heard the term prana. In the West, we talk about spirit, that animating spirit. And so they get the hang of it when I explain that. And then, the actual practice of it, it's a light touch modality. Some practitioners put their hands directly on the body in different positions around the body. Others hover a few inches over the body. I use a combination of that depending on, the area of the body that I'm working with. And I explained that people, generally experience warmth from my hands. Some experience tingling, but everybody's a little bit different. Some people have insights, they see colors sometimes. I don't usually say that up front because I don't want them to feel like they didn't do something right if they don't see colors. But some people do have quite a light show during the session. I did my first session. I was totally blown away. But it's a very soothing, relaxing, gentle, subtle, elegant modality. And of course, I use that with sound. Typically the Himalayan singing bowls, the hammered singing bowls that have all the rich overtones that has your brain going, whoa. And also tuning forks and some chimes and, just integrating all of that to make that a beautiful experience for the person.
Yeah. And so now when you're actually performing Reiki on someone, what is it that what's going through your head? Like, what are you doing exactly?
Well, not to give away any trade secrets, but
Yeah, exactly.
and and somebody asked me that recently, and I said, that's a really good question. And I would describe it as a prayer, a Reiki prayer. Just think about prayer on steroids. So I'm visualizing the energy. I'm praying for you for different things that we may have talked about, based on that person's intention for the session. Sometimes I get prompts. Something will just drop in my consciousness, and I may ask the client then, or I'll ask them afterwards, are you dealing with such and such? Especially if I see a color. If a color pops into my awareness, I may ask that, associated with a chakra, something like that. I'll ask them if they're dealing with something. It's usually spot on. I don't know why I'm still amazed by that after all this time, but I love it when those things happen. And, if I'm in my hands, if I'm sensing something in particular, I may stay at a certain position longer than I would anywhere else until I feel that energy shift. So, for instance, I sense pain as heat. Mm-hmm. And so I will stay in a position until I feel that heat break. I remember years and years ago doing that for one of my cats that had an injury on his leg. And when I felt the heat break, he had beautiful blue eyes, and he was just like this. It just still makes me laugh to think about it. But like I said, everybody's different, but what I'm doing is best described as an intense prayer for the person on every level of their being, physical and otherwise, their emotions, their spiritual life. A lot of people, I sense heat around the head, and I do spend a lot of time there because, we get stuck in our minds, right? Mm-hmm. And we let those wheels churn and churn and churn. And so I tend to spend a little bit more time around the head to help people just let go, just relax for a moment. And just, and I also, if I'm doing what I would refer to as a straight Reiki session, meaning they came to me for Reiki, not sound, I will use my own recorded music for the background. And that way they're still getting kind of a 2-for-1 experience. And with the particular recording that I use, everyone says, I just floated away. I don't know where I went. It was wonderful. So just to have that little time to detach from all of this, mm-hmm. Helps people just really, bring their anxiety levels down a few notches.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I know that there's a lot of different modalities that are coming out these days, mm-hmm. which is a beautiful thing for the age of Aquarius rising right now, is to see all of these hidden modalities of healing the body and healing each other. It's a wonderful time to be alive. Because mm-hmm. I was just at an expo, and there's just all these different types of healing modalities, and it was so amazing, and I felt blessed to be among all those different people, because everybody's so accepting and giving and loving, and it's just amazing. So mm-hmm. Tell us more, like, what has been your most profound experience with like your Reiki sessions? What is there one like session or maybe a few that stand out in your mind?
Well, this was a combo session, but I had done a session for a good friend, and I went to her home. You know, I normally don't make home visits, but I know this person personally for a long time, so I went to her home and did a session for it. She had asked me if I would do a session for her grandchild who had been having night terrors since infancy.
Mm.
And I was a little hesitant because I'm like, you know, I don't know if I can help, you know, but I'm certainly willing to try. So what I do when I have a session scheduled for somebody is I tune into them ahead of time and I ask for guidance, you know, on how to put that session together. I have different techniques I love to use, but no two sessions are ever exactly the same. I customize it for that person and what they're dealing with. So I did combine, you know, dream analysis work and sound and Reiki. And it was more about, my guidance that I received was more about which tools to take and not necessarily how to do the session from step A to step Z. So I had been around the child before, the child had been around my singing bowls, and so I didn't have to explain any of that. So we started out, I had the child draw a picture related to the dreams. The child said that they didn't remember anything about the dream itself. It's just that they woke up terrified every night. And it's been, like I said, been going on since infancy. Mm. Then I had singing bowls, a mixture of the Himalayan bowls and the crystal bowls. And I just watched, I didn't say anything. I just had the bowls out and the child started playing them very carefully. And I noticed that, you know, how they did it as far as, you know, by size. They had a method to, you know, an order in which they started to play the bowls. And then I had not intended on using the tuning forks, but they were still laying out from having done a session for the grandmother. And they requested the tuning forks. And so while the child was laying on the massage table getting ready to do the Reiki portion of the session, I started to do a particular tuning fork protocol, which were a certain protocol may involve only 4 or 5 tuning forks, different intervals, right? The child asked to hear every single tuning fork. So that was sort of an impromptu, you know, just let the child hear everything. Mm-hmm. Then I was doing the actual Reiki portion and again, playing my recorded music. And at one point, they said to me that out of the corner of their eye, they could see monsters all around us. And something in me just triggered me. It just really ticked me off that some energy was scaring this child who was 7 at the time. Child is 10 now. Mm-hmm. And has not had a bad dream since that session. Well, when I got triggered, it really ticked me off. I said, well, you know, you can tell them to go away, right? And their face was kind of like they had never thought of that, right? I was like, oh, wow, I have power, mm-hmm. right? And so at the end of the session, you know, I had them sit up and we were kind of debriefing. And I said, do you still see monsters? And they were like, and, you know, and then I think it was about 2 weeks later, there was a big event and I was sitting with the family at their table. And when the child came out with a friend and finally looked down and saw me and just lit up, you know, and waved, it's like, I don't have bad dreams anymore. And I'm just like, you know, I didn't even know if I would be able to help or not, but that just, and the grandmother, every time I get around her and we're around other people, she tells that story. So I'm just like, okay, careful now. You know, I'm not claiming anything. I'm just glad I followed my intuition, mm-hmm. you know, took the lead of the child, you know, and again, that just speaks to me that we're our own healers.
Yes.
Sometimes you just need somebody to remind you of your own power, right?
It's true. It is so true.
It was just amazing. But, you know, and I have lots of stories about hospice patients, you know, and there for a while, it was sort of like, you know, I'd go and I'd meet a patient that somebody had recommended, oh, you need to have Alison come visit you. She likes all these kind of, you know, metaphysical far out there topics, right? So I would find end up working with a patient. I thought, oh wow, this is wonderful. And within 2 weeks they'd already passed. And I got a little down about that for a while. And then it was like, oh no, don't be down. You helped them find peace. You helped them find their tone or their some frequency or some sense of peace in that they could let go of this existence and move on. But for a while there, I was like, well, what's going on, man? Everybody's, and I was like, Alison, they're on hospice. It's like, that, if they're on hospice, they're not expected to live beyond 6 months. So I know that. But I guess in having worked with so many patients over the years, you kind of get attached to them. So finding really, really cool ones that spoke my language and then having them leave me after such a short time, I got a little down there for a little bit. But, when you think about it, when you see the condition some of these people are in, it's just a blessing when they can pass. And, one particular patient, while we were speaking, it was very interesting because when I got there, the view out of the windows from their bedroom, I had seen in a dream the night before. It was amazing. Looking out over a porch with rocking chairs and the sun shining and everything. And then as we were speaking, I didn't believe my eyes. I was seeing something around, the body, very tiny, but just around. And I looked away for a moment to let my eyes rest and came back and I could still see it. And it was just a pale blue aura. When I got home, I looked up the color, of the pale blue, and I was just so excited. My volunteer notes that for that visit were like this long because I was describing our conversation and what the light blue meant. It validated what that patient was saying about accepting that they had agreed to have this experience in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. And it, you read and study about auras and things, and then you think, okay, well, but until you see it for yourself, and then it validate, I didn't know what it meant, until I looked it up. It just blows me away. I'm like, why would you ever want to do anything else? When this type of experience is so cool.
I know.
And you're helping people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's so neat.
I mean, all the weirdest stuff is cool to me,
I know, me too.
Well, they actually have some aura goggles, out there in the world. They're
cool.
selling them in Tennessee right now. They're called aura goggles, and you can see the auras of people and plants and different things like that. So I intend to get some in the future.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to look for that, but maybe I can fine tune my natural vision to really look for that.
I mean, you can do that too. If you just sort of stare at different objects, you can start to see like a little halo around. It's pretty close. It's about an 8 or 2 inch off the object. So it's kind of interesting, But yeah, so, and tell us any other good stuff. I love good stories about people's experiences. Do you have anything else that like stands out with your experiences with Reiki or any other healing modalities that you've done?
Well, I think several years ago, there was a particular patient that really stood out for me because they were only 18 at the time. And then there was another infant. Oh my goodness, you just don't expect to see, patients that young, at a hospice house. And just working, with the 18-year-old, being able to be in the room and provide that to somebody in their final hours. I was not there when they passed, but I was there during the last 24 hours. And I was later traveling and out of town when they passed. And one of the nurses that also studied Reiki with me, she was at the funeral and just wanted me to know that the mother came up to her and just went on and on about how, their child had just enjoyed Reiki so much and that they so appreciated that. And, they sent me a thank you note in the mail, and I still have it in a little box, I just keep that. And, another time I was visiting, and it ended up, it's very, very funny. I was walking in the hospice house. I had been asked to come see a particular patient, and then I run into one of my students. So from my corporate life in teaching project management, I run into one of my students there, and they were like, "Oh, hey, Alison, blah blah blah, are you doing here?" Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, they said that their grandmother was there, and I went, "What room is she in?" And they told me, I'm like, "That's the room I'm going to." And I was a little hesitant, because these folks in the corporate environment didn't know, this other side of my life, right? So I walk in there, and the parents are there too, and I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh," but I got to do this for the grandmother. And because the grandmother she was refusing pain medication and everything else. And so that's why they said, "Call Alison, get her in here to do Reiki for her." And so that brought some relief, and the whole family staying in there just, it's like people want to watch, and I giggle and I'm like, there's nothing much to see. So in my early days, that kind of caught me off guard, but then I started, okay, I can send this energy around to everybody in the room. And so I remember one time doing this for a patient, and I normally have my eyes closed as I'm doing Reiki. I remember I looked up for a moment, checked the mother and niece that were visiting, and they were like this on the sofa. I was like, yeah, I can calm everybody down. The infant was very, very challenging for me. I saw one of the nurses holding a baby, and I thought it was just somebody visiting. I didn't realize that the infant was a patient. And I saw this baby when I was visiting, this grandmother. And so after I would work with the grandmother, I'd go around the corner and ask to, work with the baby. And, there were no family members there with the baby, which just horrified me. So I would go in there and, hold the baby and do Reiki. And I had never heard of the condition of this infant, and I couldn't even repeat it or anything. I'd never heard of it before, but the infant was in a lot of pain. So I worked with her several times, and then, the folks at hospice, let me know that she was finally able to take a bottle again to feed, and was eventually, able to go home. She did end up passing. And that was a blessing. One day I was very curious. I wanted to actually hold her little hand. She was always wrapped in a little blanket. So I unwrapped the blanket to get her little hand. And I was just shocked at how shriveled her arm and hands were. You could see when she would have a wave of pain, how that would come through her body. And I would just, I would just sit there and hold her little hand, and I hated the music they were playing for her. I always play my own music, but, it was, I guess it was a neat thing to be able to help that child be able to take a bottle again and to be able to go home. And I'm thankful that the child was able to pass at home with family instead of at hospice house by themselves. So you always have to look for the upside of the situation. But those are, I've got funny stories from nursing homes, but those are just regular visits, not necessarily Reiki stuff. But, always people ask me about it, and I'm like, y'all, I have been bitten, I have been cussed at, and it's all funny, and I wouldn't trade a moment of it.
Yeah, it's really sad, when there's a baby in hospice. I've never even considered anything like that. And it's odd that the family wouldn't be there, coming by to visit the child often.
Yeah.
Very strange.
I don't know what the story, what the story was, but it just really bothered me.
Yeah, that's an odd one. But, again, as souls coming here to contract into this existence, there's obviously something that soul wanted to experience, about being a baby and then being in that situation. And the adverse effects of life is where we grow the most. We have the opportunity to grow the most from the experience of being in some sort of adverse situation. And that is what I have determined in my own life. You look back on the days of your life and you just compare, like, okay, what is this? Why did this happen? And you look and you see the reason. If you have eyes to see, you'll find the reasons. So I'm sure that, everything was just fine once the soul left the body. But it's a fascinating journey, truly. And I can speak only from my own experiences, but, having that ability to do Reiki on people, of course, Ki being the chi or Qigong or Ki energy, that is a very important thing. And there's more and more practitioners out here now, than there ever was. And more people are interested in these alternative modalities of healing. Because with the age of Aquarius is going to be amazing. I keep telling people this, not only with the technologies, but with the individual abilities. When people step into their own power and really truly learn what their physical form can do. Because we've been
and what this thing can do as well.
Yes. And that's really what it's about, because you're giving off scalar waves, it's scalar wave activity that's going out and creating and reacting with different things out in the world, and then it resonates backwards. So it's like sonar. And it's really fascinating to see all of this. But so is there anything else? I mean, you have some great stories and you have great experiences. And do you have your own practice where you do your Reiki?
Yes, when I like I said, several months ago, I had the opportunity to exit the corporate matrix. I had, for years, I had been praying for a congenial way out. See, because you never want to burn your bridges, right? And just praying and meditating, and all I ever heard was, a door will open, walk through it. And every time I asked, that's what I heard for years, right? And then finally, things got so crazy. And I was sitting at my desk in this room in my home office, and I about pushed back, and I was like, I could just shut this computer down right now, and not properly, because that's, for me, being OCD, that's a big thing for me, to just fold the lid and walk away without shutting it down properly. I was like, I could just push away and never look back. It was that wild. And 2 weeks later, the email came out offering early retirement packages. And I was like, so, you kind of look at it, you're scared. It's like you're in this cage and the door opens and you're scared to walk out. But so I had to go through that. And I did. And in that process, I've been seeing the same chiropractor for, well over 10 years. And, in speaking with him, I had some space that I was in with an oncologist nurse who has a nonprofit for cancer patients. We had some space at a church, and the church sold the building. And so we had to move out. And I was telling the chiropractor, and because we've been conversing for years about holistic modalities and everything. And he goes, well, how much space do you need? And I went, I just need enough space to set up my massage table. And he goes, well, I have an extra office, down the other hallway. Go take a look. And I'm like, okay. And that was just a dream come true. I mean, to be in with my chiropractor, there's also massage therapists there, and we're all referring each other, and just meeting all the other patients. Some of the patients have seen me there before, as a patient, and now I'm walking up and down the hallways with a singing bowl or my tuning forks or chimes. And, I've got signs up, and I get to talk to people all the time and explain it. And they come over and they see my room and they're like, ooh, they see everything in there. It's, oh, this looks really nice. Then I started doing little mini sessions to introduce them, and starting to hold, functions, workshops, and things like that. And it's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. So that's what we need out here in the world. That's the way the world is about to shift. Is people actually helping each other to help each other, rise our friends up, and whoever we meet, we're just going to lift them up with us together. Instead of this, no, this is me and mine and not yours, because it's been so selfish out here in the world. But now all of that's going away. I'm seeing it for myself out here in the world, where, in the circles that I'm in, people are lifting each other up. And it's helping to just prime example is having you here, because I want people to come and feel free to come to my channel. Let's do an interview. Let's promote each other, you know, because that's how we're going to get along in this world and how we're going to be successful and truly make things happen. But yeah, and so with that practice where you are, what area of town are you in anyway?
So in Columbus, it's referred to as North Columbus. And if somebody's outside the Columbus area, it's extremely easy to get to. You come down I-85 like you're going into Columbus.
Okay.
And it's exit 12, Williams Road. And you come off the exit, take a left and keep going straight. And right before you hit Veterans Parkway, we're on the left.
Okay.
It's very easy to find.
Yeah, feel free to do, you know, your advertising of the office name, the address, because
it's Clear Choice Chiropractic in Columbus, Georgia, and it's 3151 Williams Road. And we're right at the intersection. It's a very large intersection with Veterans Parkway. And there's a Walgreens right across the street. So you really can't miss it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I have a big sign outside that says Reiki.
Oh, so that's awesome. Yeah. Now tell us about some of your other modalities that you do. You do obviously the crystal bowls and the singing bowls and the different types, I guess. But then what else do you have under your belt, I guess, because you got like the black belt of Reiki and everything else, I guess.
Well, I always tell people, it's like, you know, I sort of got into all these certifications because I love to learn. And, you know, you get out of college, and I didn't want to do anything traditional with music. I ended up, I had already been doing Reiki for a couple of years. And then I went to a conference at the ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, the Edgar Cayce Foundation. It was on sacred sound and music. And that just blew me away, you know, being introduced to sound healing, sound therapy. I was like, this is it, this is it, this is it. And that's when I started incorporating the bowls into my Reiki practice. Another certification I did there at the ARE was for life coaching and NLP. And that was awesome. You know, the Yvonne Oswald, Dr. Oswald from Canada, when I met her, the prerequisite was to read her book, Every Word Has Power. And I had seen it, but I didn't order it because I was like, yeah, I probably got how many books on that very topic. I'm all about being positive. I'm, you know, we probably all cut our teeth on the power of positive thinking. Right? But when I read her book, I was blown away. And when I met her, I told her, I was like, you are a whole nother level. So it really honing in on your vocabulary, the actual words that you use, you know, higher energy versus lower energy. And I really have kind of honed in of all the things that she taught us, you know, that's what I really hone in on and bring into my practice, because I hear people say things all the time and they're really sabotaging themselves by their very own words. Yeah. And so it's nothing for me to, if I encounter a young woman who I hear her saying, I'm sorry, man, I'm already coaching her within 5 minutes. So, and I'm giving them alternative phrases to say. So I know one time, even in the work environment, I'd always say something, oh, my pleasure. And they're like, do you work for Chick-fil-A? And I'm like, no, but I eat there a lot. And I said, but think about it. They say that for a reason, you know, that they know something about your words and the power of that. And, you know, just also dream analysis sort of happened. That's been going on since childhood. I don't know if I was 4 or 5 when this happened, but this was back in the day where you could let your child roam around the grocery store by themselves. And my mother left me on the cereal aisle. And I must have been OCD back then because I had to go pick my cereal, and I picked it. You remember prizes used to come in the cereal? Mm-hmm. And I went up and down. I didn't care what cereal. I want to know what prize was in the box. So Fruity Pebbles had a blue plastic swimming Fred Flintstone. So you had to put a rubber band inside of him, and he did his little arms, and he would swim in the bathtub. And that's what I wanted. And so we got home, and I dug him out, and I had a bath that evening, and all was well. Well, during the night, I had a dream that there was a second little blue Fred Flintstone in that box of cereal. So in the morning, I marched back out to the kitchen and I got the cereal box out and I started digging around in there. And my mom and my brother were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm getting the prize out." And they go, "You got it out last night, remember?" And I'm like, "No, there's another one." And they were trying to tell me I'd already gotten it. And right then I went, "Ping." And I walked off and I recall hearing them say, "How did she know?" And I said, "I dreamed it, and I just walked off. I was a kid. Hadn't been corrupted yet with adult thinking, right?
Yeah.
So the dream analysis has been going on since then. And, I've studied that my whole life, and especially through the ARE, the Edgar Cayce material. But dreams come up so often when I'm working with someone that it just naturally, comes out. And that's why I carry dream dictionaries and things like that to tell people. It's like, you really need to keep a journal. Write these things down because you're not going to remember it. And you're getting feedback, from your subconscious. You may have a visitation. I've had some really cool visitations. It's just, I can't even articulate all of it. I mean, some of the types of dreams that you can have when they're so vivid in color. And have you ever had a dream where you felt water splash your body, where you actually smelled something, where you had some of your senses? I mean, I don't know that that was a dream, right? I had some other kind of experience. And then if you can get into lucid dreaming, oh my goodness, I was like, it's just phenomenal. So to be able to share this type of information with somebody, it's going to come up. If they come to me for something and they're stressed, they're anxious, they're dealing with a health situation, there's likely an emotional component, there's some event, there's something else going on. And so to be able to coach them with their words, right? Their vocabulary, look at it a different way, pay attention to your dreams. Your subconscious is trying to tell you something as well. So for me, that just all fits together.
It's true. It's true. So I have been knowing about this whole not dreams, but the word etymology, how powerful the words are. With the dreams, a lot of times I can't remember my dreams, but when they are like lucid dreams, I remember them and I write them down. And I have had some weird ones, I'm like most people, but apparently that is the real us that is
right.
Having those experiences and then coming back to this body. And maybe we're just on different levels of what we would call time, experiencing everything at once, but we can only remember this moment for whatever reason. Like there's a veil, and they say time doesn't exist and that it's all one moment. And, it's kind of hard to think about that, in terms of everything happening right here, right now. And that's why we see what's called ghosts. We're seeing in another timeline, other things are happening. So it's just going to be very amazing. Like this whole thing with the technology too. Crystal technology is allowing people to peer into the future and the past of people's lives, and also to reveal truths, of course, hidden truths about other people who do dark acts. The Vatican comes to mind. But yeah, they've been hiding all this technology from us, but now it's coming and we're going to have access to this, but we're also going to have to just be complacent, I guess, with being better people. That's really the goal. From what I see this coming is we're going to be pushed kind of gently into a society where we are going to be rewarded for our goodness instead of rewarded for bad, dark acts. That's been going on, all this corruption and stuff. People have been rewarded for that. But yeah, so wow. And and do you still experience that type of dream reality where you can just wake up and go, no, I know this and I'm going to go interact with this because I had the dream about it? Or did the indoctrination sort of dampen your abilities from a child, where you were able to just dream something and you knew absolutely that the thing was real and you were going to prove it, basically?
Well, I guess, just being in the corporate world for so long, I would say that my attention was so diverted from my intuitive and empathic capabilities. But do you remember when the highway collapsed around Atlanta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was on the other side a few hours prior. Something told me, I was up there for a meeting in Alpharetta, and something told me I wanted to go shopping at my favorite shopping center up there after the meeting, and something said, go home, go home. And I had a dream. I had flown back from North Carolina to Atlanta and then stayed in Atlanta for another meeting. And that morning I woke up in the hotel and I'd had a very amazing dream that was very similar to what happened to the interstate there. It was, the road had collapsed. I saw cars coming off of it. I was horrified. When I got home, I was on the sofa watching TV. My mom called all upset because she was seeing it on the news. They get the Atlanta channels. They live in LaGrange and I don't, in Columbus. So I didn't know what she was talking about. She goes, are you home yet? And I was like, yeah, why? She says, well, it's all over the news. And so when she told me what happened, my first question was, because I was remembering my dream, and I was like, was anybody hurt? And she said, no, that it was stopped before anybody, went over the edge or anything. And I was just like, whew. But I mean, I've had these precognitive dreams, but I mean, who are you going to tell when it happens? I thought at the time that it was symbolic of what was going on at work. So,
oh yeah.
I could just see cars going over the edge, and I was like, sometimes you get stuck working on something that is doomed, and nobody above you wants to listen to that, right? And that's what I thought it was representative of that situation. And then when that happened, my mom called me and told me, and then I flipped on over to something that would tell, CNN or something where I could get to the information. I probably turned pale, as far as precognitive dreams, that was the closest within time frame of having the dream, and then whatever happened. Mm-hmm. That blew me away. But yeah, I don't think anything's been dampened. I think I go through seasons of being very much in tune, and then other times of, I really don't remember much. I remember snippets, and whatever I remember, I try to write down, even if it's just a word. I remember reading somewhere, I forget who said, that the part of your brain that dreams can't read. And I'm like, well, they never met me, because I've read in my dreams before. So does that mean that I'm using another part of my brain? I don't know, but I just, one dream I had, I was in there interacting with my husband, and I was building something in the lower level, which we don't have a lower level in this house, and some lady was, in my face, and I turned to my husband in my dream and I was like, I'm here from another dimension. Who is she in relation to me in this dimension? Who speaks like that in their dreams or even real life? So that was a really wild dream. But it's just fascinating. Where are we really going when we dream and we're paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, waking up. I know as a child, we were living in Princeton, New Jersey, and so I would have been 7 then. And I remember I woke up from one dream into another dream. Now that's only happened at one time that I recall. But oh my goodness, I don't know if you have any amazing dream experiences, even though you said sometimes you don't remember them. But
yeah, I mean, believe me, I keep a diary on the ones that are the most profound. But yet I've had dreams where I'm dreaming, a dream within a dream kind of thing. And
right.
That gets a little weird sometimes. One of the most profound things that I can say where I was in a lucid state was I landed in the dream, and it was nighttime, and I was with some other people, but I was on this embankment of grass, and it was just a gentle slope down where some other people, like some scientists, were talking, maybe about 6 people, but I could sense there was like a pyramid to the right, and it was like one of those, maybe like the Bosnian pyramid or something, this grass pyramid. and I could sense it because it was big and it was to the right. But I was looking at the skyline, and the skyline was off in the distance with these 7 orbs, like white orbs that were in the sky, and they were just hovering. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then I turned around to look like behind me, and there was a closer skyline with an orb that was kind of in the trees. And when you looked at this orb, you could see it was kind of like one of those the Tesla energy ball thing with the lightning, it was going, the energy was just like zapping in. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. But then there was another one that was also close to that energy orb, and it had a man in it. And the man, I could see, had wings. He was a Roman looking man. He was wearing like a toga, and he had white wings. You could see just the tip, and he's just standing there in this energy orb. And I was like, there's a man in the energy orb. And I started waving like crazy with my etheric arm, I'm like going, hey, I'm like, look at me, I see you. And it was so funny because he just lifts up his left hand and he kind of just waves, like this. And I got a sense that it was like Archangel Michael or somebody. I was like, I'm acting ridiculous, going, hey, how are you? It's just ridiculous stuff like that. But when I woke up, I felt like it was completely real, like they were watching me, and the energy orb was some sort of consciousness too. So I don't know. I was like, okay, these are the kinds of dreams that I wish I could just kind of manifest right here so I can interact with the beings that are there, They thought I was ridiculous though, I think. Like, yeah, we know. So yeah, I have interesting, ridiculous dreams, but some are, out there, like most people though.
I know. Yeah, as you were talking about that one, I was remembering another one I had where I always giggle at this. I don't know why, but my guides won't let me see them. They're always to my side speaking to me, but they won't let me see them head on. And I'm like, why? So anyway, in this particular dream, it was sort of dusk, maybe when you said nighttime. So sort of nighttime, dusk, whatever. I could still kind of see things. They were at my side. And I looked up in the sky. There were I can't even describe what the colors were in the sky, but I was just amazed at how beautiful. And one of my guides said, Alison, all your dreams are like this. So even when we don't remember, we always dream, we don't always remember. But I know I've had some in the past where, it's a particularly spiritual experience because the colors are so vivid. Other times dreams are a little bit fuzzy, the colors are there maybe, but not very sharp, anything like that. But when it's vivid, oh my goodness. It's like, oh, pay attention.
Yeah, no,
we're gonna get some good intel here tonight.
Exactly. Now, I usually dream in color, I do have to say that. And a lot of times it's just kind of dim, like it seems kind of dark and dim, even if it's daylight in the dream. So it's hard to explain. I guess it has something to do with the third eye, the pineal gland, and how calcified it is. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing, throwing that out there.
Well, one of the folks that I have studied that particular book, I can see it from here. It's very well worn, and it's not in print anymore. But she talks about the different levels of lighting in your dream and what the significance of that is. And I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's one of my first questions when I'm, talking to somebody about a dream. What was the lighting like? But yeah, a lot of times it's kind of dim, fuzzy, things like that. But when there's something that's vivid, you really want to pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, usually when it's vivid, that means it's kind of lucid, and then I can remember the details, especially when it's important. But lately, I tell you, I've been waking up and I know that my higher self is giving me information. but I haven't been honing in on just focusing on what that information is, but I know that it's telling me things, things that I need to know about. If I'm curious about something, it'll be answering my questions and just giving me downloads of information for what to do with people's situations, like teaching and helping people basically. And it's amazing just to be able to connect with the higher aspect of self. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. And it's really just about being still and being quiet. Quiet the mind.
And trusting that still small voice.
Yes. Because most people don't want to trust their intuition, the voice that says, hey, turn left instead of right or whatever, and, to avoid a traffic accident or whatever it might be. Yeah. So when I went to the person's house to cleanse the negativity from their house yesterday, I was thinking about, well, I might need to use a restroom before I get on the road. It's like, no, my higher self was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that here. Don't do that here. Because of whatever might come back can attach to my energy if I leave any sort of part of me behind. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm listening constantly, I like, okay, I'm listening, I'm going to pay attention.
Oh, I know that. Those times, the growth time where you're questioning and then you don't listen to that prompt and then you find out within a few seconds why. And it's like, okay, I don't even question it anymore. Even if it's crazy to go the longer way, I'm like, okay, I just go the other way.
Exactly.
I don't question anymore. I don't need proof. I've had it.
Had enough experiences and enough proof. And now we need to just convince other people to stand in their own divine countenance too, and listen, just listen, learn to listen to the voices in your head as long as they're positive. And it doesn't usually come as a second voice. It's more like you think it's your thoughts, and the thought forms are going to be beneficial. The words are always positive and never going to mislead you. So that's the difference, because there are the thought form entities, the archons that I've talked about on my channel. And those things absolutely will try to deceive you and lead you down to dark paths. So people need to just be more aware of themselves and who they truly are and to stand in their heart space. This is the one thing that I'm trying to impart, in a lot of my videos. I'm trying to just impart like we have to just get back to basics. What does it mean to be human? And what are we doing here? And how can we help each other? Instead of attacking each other for whatever nonsensical thing it might be, let's see what we can do to be better people and to help each other and to rise each other up, lift each other up in consciousness and awareness, because that's where we're going next. It's going to be a fabulous thing. Very fabulous. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about everybody else, but I know that what's happening is the old world is dying and the new one that is coming, the phoenix that is going to be rising from the ashes, is going to be amazing, because it's going to be us, a world led by us and with our good intentions, because we are the leaders of tomorrow pretty much. But so
and I've got the draft of this. I've been talking to people here locally about, the first event I had in January was so well attended. Each year I do a burning bowl and white stone ceremony. You heard of the burning bowl?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Okay, so with the burning bowl, we do a meditation and I guide people through, and then we come out of that and I give them 2 slips of paper. One slip of paper, they write what they're going to release, what they're going to let go of. And then the other piece of paper is for what they're going to take on in the new year. And so, I stand outside and I have them come and they, I've got my bowl and the candle and my big, beautiful ceremonial feather and sage and everything. And we go through that. And then we come back in and then we do another meditation for the white stone ceremony. And I have white stones. I have those tiny little miniature canvases that you can get in the arts and crafts stores, and then colored pens and things like that. And when they come out of the meditation, They either have maybe a word, a phrase, a color, or a symbol, something like that. And that's what they can use throughout the year. Just keep it where they see it to remind them of what that message is from your higher self. The first time I just did it for myself, the word I got was fortitude. And I remember sitting, that's when I had my office upstairs. I remember coming out of it going, fortitude. I don't even use that word, in my regular daily speaking, like fortitude. But I still have that little stone, fortitude. And, the next year, I think it was just do it. It was like, stop being, so over analytical about everything that you want to put together. That's the project manager in me. I got to have the whole thing laid out, and here's, and I was like, just stop it. Just get out there. People need this information, so stop being so, OCD about it, even though you're OCD. So just start sharing. But some of the information, like you're talking about, I was coming across something and I saw a pattern, and several years ago when I was wrapping up my last certification, I was hearing this same messages, over and over and over again, especially from women. And so that gave me the idea of putting together a workshop. I don't know how many segments it's going to be in right now. I could probably do something once a month for the rest of the year at this point, but just the return of the divine feminine energy to help balance out, what's been going on previously. And so I've got all the subtopics already nailed. I'm trying to, kind of pair them together. So, I'm not trying to cram too much into one session, but so everyone that I've talked to so far is like, ooh, let me know when you get that scheduled. I want to be there. And, just explain to them is that, this divine feminine energy, the, calm things down, communicate better with others, and let's try to collaborate, just like what you've just been saying. Let's collaborate with one another. How can we help each other? Just, and sometimes women are more in tune with their intuition, with their gut feelings, things like that, and will act on it a little more quicker than maybe our partners here. But I just see that's going to be a fun series of workshops to get underway. I can't wait to get these folks going, and just teaching folks every day, just being in the chiropractor's office, introducing them to essential oils. If they have not tried those before, I've always got samples handy and ready. I've got certain things, in my space ready to just share with them. And, just like I like to say, I like to layer the modalities. What are you interested in? There's 5 different things that could help with whatever they're experiencing. What are you most interested in? What appeals to you?
Yeah.
Let's take that route first, but when somebody comes in and they're going to do a session, I may offer them a little essential oil. I don't automatically diffuse it because not everybody, appreciates that, but I'll let them have some in the palm of their hand, to breathe in during the session if they like. And again, layering that with the Reiki and the sound, and then whatever else comes up, from the session. And so that's where the NLP and the coaching and dream analysis, it all comes together. And there are other modalities that I'm still studying. So I just have to, in my spare time, wrap those up at some point. I'm, working on some more music edits for some more releases. So, and I was going to say with the dream analysis, I did do a video to my dream incubation piece, and that is on my YouTube channel, my Empowered by Source channel. So you can find that video out there. So give it a try and see if that helps you remember your dreams.
I'm definitely going to need some help, I think. I forced myself to forget a lot of things in my life, and it started early on. So, and now it just has become a habit, of just glazing over information and dreams and, all kinds of things. It just sort of flows right out of my mind instead of sticking and staying. It's like a sieve now because I've trained myself to be that way since childhood, with traumas and things that you experience. It's like, okay, well, now I'm having a hard time remembering like names and just different things like dreams. It's hard for me to remember what all happened in a dream most of the time. So I know it's just my experience in this life, I guess, that I've just chosen this to be this way. But on a daily basis, I'm pretty good, but it's so weird that I can remember faces, but then the names, names will glaze over. And I'm like, I know their name, but I can't remember right now. It's just weird, but it's all subconscious choosing, basically. I know it's all like been suppressed. So, but
you can also use, and you can also use the dream incubation. Like, I'll suggest that to people if they're looking for some type of guidance or answer to a question. And so I was like, yeah, you can prep yourself before you go to sleep. Ask that question to your higher self, the universe, whatever. Use that before you go to sleep, and then pay attention to your dreams. And even if you only remember a tiny little portion of it, or anything, just write that down. And then, ask for further clarification if you need it. I do that all the time. I wake up and I'm going, okay, I don't even know what the heck that was about. So tonight I would like some clarification. I don't even know where to begin on that one. So I really need clarification. Help me out, team.
Exactly. Yes. Well, this is great. I'm so excited. If you weren't so far away in Columbus, I could probably come and maybe we could trade or something. But no, this has been great. And I'm so excited to have you here. And, I hope you have a lot of business and people come see you, because this is what the world is about. We've got to help each other. And just reaching out, let's learn about all these different things, these hidden aspects that we have in our world, because they're available to us now. And more people are finding about all of these different ways besides going to the doctor. I say it's drugs and sorcery, y'all. Pharmakia,
Right.
drugs and sorcery. We've got to get away from the dark magical practice. Let's get back to something that's holistic, that's going to benefit the body and the mind and the soul, all of the things. So that way it's an integrative modality, spiritual.
Absolutely.
But yes, so please. Oh, go ahead. Please.
I was going to say, even though you're at a distance, I have had a couple of people ask me to start doing some things online, which at the beginning of the lockdowns, I was doing meditations, during lunchtime online, trying different technologies, sometimes with the bowls and things like that. It depends on the equipment that the other person has as to what the quality of it is. But for any of the topics that I teach on, any of the things that I do, we can certainly adapt to online, via a Zoom, a video conference, something like that. So if anyone's interested in anything that I've talked about, they can certainly reach out, and we can accommodate that. So they can, reach me, my website is empoweredbysource.com. There are links on there to click to get in touch with me. And then also, again, there's information, some videos on my YouTube channel, Empowered by Source. And any, meditation pieces, there's some of my music, a lot of it is on YouTube, but they can also go to Insight Timer. Have you used that before, Insight Timer? And it's a meditation app. Okay, it's a meditation app, and my recording name is Atmanali, so Atmanlai. And so there, when I was looking at the Sanskrit terms, the Atman, that word can be used two different ways. And so the way I'm, using is inner essence of, and Ali short for Alison. So a lot of the pieces on my CD, again, that's sort of a sound therapy self-help package right there. There's a lot of good material, a lot of personal material in there. So hopefully that helps people quite a bit. Recently, one of my friends, she was talking about how her boyfriend was having trouble sleeping. And I said, well, you've got my CD, listen to Temple 10A. That's almost 25 minutes long. She was pulling it up on Spotify, and she said, oh, by the way, your forgiveness medicine melody's been played. And she rattled off a number, and I was like, excuse me, what? And she said it again, and it still wasn't computing in my brain. And she said it for a third time, and then she looked at me, she said, your forgiveness medicine melody has been played almost 25,000 times. I was like, what? So evidently, forgiveness is a huge topic out there, and people are really, and that particular piece was extremely personal. I remember sitting in my hotel room in Atlanta coming up with that one, because I was really livid about something at work. So, but yeah, the anything that anyone is interested in, don't let distance, slow things down. We have all this beautiful technology. Let's use it.
I know. And, unfortunately for my QHHT, Dolores always said that we shouldn't be doing any kind of online hypnosis sessions, because if the transmission gets cut off or interrupted or does something, then the person is left in their hypnosis session, on the other end of the line. And I can see that. But there are people out there who are doing hypnosis sessions online, but the person has to have like a headset with a microphone and all this stuff. So it gets kind of technical, and not everybody wants to do that, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know. We'll figure something out for this new age of technology and spirituality combining. It's going to be really interesting to watch as we see all this progression, with once we get the darkness out of the way. I just think there's going to be a lot of revealing of the technologies that are just so amazing that they've been hiding from us. They've been holding back the dam, of really interesting thing. I've already seen some of the stuff, where they have these drones that they don't have wings, they don't have propellers. I'm like, what is it? How is it flying? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's going to be interesting.
It will be. And, just one thing about Reiki is that Reiki can be done over distance, and you don't need the technology. Somebody was telling me, oh, one of my patients is getting Reiki sessions on Zoom. And I laughed. I'm like, they don't need Zoom to get Reiki over distance. But it's, you have an appointed time, and I don't, some people use a picture or a stuffed animal or something in place of the person and do that. But I don't even have that with some of my coworker friends up in North Carolina. They'll shoot me a text or a message on Facebook, and I was like, okay, right before you go to bed tonight, I'll be sending it to you, so pay attention. And they don't really have to, but I'm just letting them know at what time that I will be sending the energy to them, and for what purpose. So, if somebody is a little bit hesitant about Zoom or anything like that, they can request distant Reiki sessions.
Now, do you have to get permission to actually work on someone's body before you actually do it?
Yes.
Yeah, so yes. They're not crossing dominions and all that kind of.
Absolutely. You are speaking to a person, but also at the start of a session, you're asking that person's higher self to guide the session. So I know some people have called me before panicking because somebody was in the office and they said they did Reiki and they just came up, put their hands on them. And I said, that's not appropriate. They should not have done that. They should have asked permission. Now, sometimes, I'm one of those who, when I pass anybody on the road and they look like they're having issues or something like that, I always love to send Reiki, and I always think about, you have to ask permission. So I'm always sending Reiki to the situation, as a whole, that everything work out, to the benefit or safety or whatever it is. So I always feel like I have this little magic wand and I'm sending this healing energy to just help, that's just how I am. I just love to help people. So.
That reminds me of what I was saying at the Wellness Expo with the crystals, because the crystal is an amplification tool based on Marcel Vogel's techniques. And I was telling the people, I said, sometimes I just send out little heart bubbles, like while I'm driving. I'm like, you need some love. You need some love. It's like a wand, because it's a scalar wave. It has a scalar form. And it
we transmit. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I teach people about I have a workshop that I've taught for years on the power of thoughts and words. And especially in the corporate environment, you've got people sitting there in their little, they know all the body language stuff and they know what to say and how to say it, but in their mind, that conversation that's going on in their mind is total opposite. And I explain to people when I'm teaching, it's like the other person is picking up on your real message, regardless of what they're seeing and hearing. I said, so you need to get congruent. So, let's do some other work. If you have to interact with somebody that you really don't want to interact with, you can do it.
It's true.
But remember to transmit.
Exactly. I mean, we just got to get everybody back to basics. Let's focus on what you're saying. What is your language? Your spelling. What kind of spells are you casting? What kind of swords are you creating? Swords are words, but most people don't really kind of grasp a lot of
they're not paying attention to that. And most recently I came across, and I can't remember who it was, but they were emphasizing the importance of your intentions with whatever you're doing. And then, of course, I think we've spoken about it, in the larger groups here about the heart energy, speaking from your heart or doing things from your heart energy. So just, teaching people, giving them examples of what the difference is. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, in the scenario, what I'm about to suggest to you is going to sound counterintuitive, because that's what our culture has groomed us to be like. But I'm telling you, that's not going to help you. This counterintuitive reaction here or response is what's really going to help you grow. And you're only going to see that if you do it. So even when I was first learning NLP, I was traveling so much for work. And if you've ever gone through the Atlanta airport, you get tested like every 5 minutes, right? And so a lady that used to travel with me all the time, she would see me, something would happen, and she'd look at me, she'd go like that, and she'd see me like, and I was counting to 10 in my head. So I was like, okay, I'm going to like calm down before I respond. And then I'm just going to kind of lean into this. But as you practice these things, it becomes easier, and then the person who's having a rough day or whatever, then you just soften them as well. And then there's everyone else watching what's going on. You've just affected all of them as well. So we do need to help others learn how to, lean into this higher level of communicating and interacting with one another.
Yes, beautifully said. But yes, well, it's just going to take some practice and effort on all parts. Each of us has to look at ourselves as what can we change about ourselves in a beneficial way, because we can't change other people. We can't change the world. But if we change ourselves, then some aspect about the world will change with us in a positive way. So just hope that we can get through to some of the people who are more stubborn.
It'll come one way or the other. And that's part of, the message in my workshops and working with people one-on-one is people want to know, how can they help with anything? And I'm like, how you can help, you start with yourself.
Yes.
It's like when you become healthier, when you become kinder, when you become more compassionate, all these things, when you do that, you are shifting the energy. And when you shift that energy with yourself, you're shifting it for those around you. That's how we do it. That's how we have that little sphere of influence that spreads. And the symbolism of the pebble dropped in the water and the little rings coming out, that never gets old. I mean, it's a visual that most people are familiar with. So that's what we just teach people to do.
It's truth. Exactly. Is there anything else that you would like to impart in your repertoire of wisdom upon the world?
Always still learning. I learned trial by fire. But I have an event coming up this Saturday. I'm calling it 20 for 20. And it's 20 minutes on a biomat, which is infrared light shining through amethyst and tourmaline crystal. Very helpful for circulation and pain, stiffness, things like that, and also allergies. I have fallen asleep on mine all the time. And then there's the AMI 750, which sends you put your feet on it. You can also put it in your lap, put your hands on it, but it's designed to put your feet on it, and it sends sound frequencies through your meridian system to help with a variety of situations. There's a general one for stress, pain. It can infuse your cells with oxygen if you feel like you're coming down with something. Vitality, if you need an energy boost, lots of wonderful things that it can help you with. I had, when I was traveling so much all the time for work, my ears would get messed up. And one of my ears was hurting really badly one time, and my essential oils that normally helped me were not helping that particular time. And I was like, okay, get your AMI 750 out. I'm always hiding it from the cats, right? Because it's got gel pads, put your feet. So it's never right there where I can see it. I'm hiding it from the cats. So I got it out and I did a 30-minute protocol, and I fell asleep on the sofa. And then when I woke up, pain was gone. I mean, I would much rather do that than pop a pill. Yes. That I don't know really what's in it. So I've got that. So 20 minutes on the biomat, 20 minutes on the AMI 750, and then 20 minutes of like one of those mini sessions with me for Reiki and sound. Oh. And then on Sunday afternoon, April 3rd, I'm having, let me pull the whole description up here. I'm calling this event Respite from Chaos. It is a Reiki and sound immersion. So take refuge in the healing embrace of Reiki as each participant receives a personal blessing to guide them throughout the journey. Delve inward to new levels of peacefulness as sound vibrations lull you into a deep meditative state. The immersion continues with the powerful prayer of Latifa and essential oils to balance the chakras, affirm intentions, and release that which no longer serves us. And everyone at the end of that, I'm going to give them a little rose quartz stone infused with Reiki, and just as a remembrance of the experience. And that's going to be, again, April 3rd, a Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4. So anyone who's interested in either of these events can contact me through the website. It's Alison M. Long at empoweredbysource.com. Very easy. Hey. Little kind of long, but easy.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And it's been so good to talk to you and share all of your experiences. And we will be putting all of the information to contact Alison in the description box below this video. But Alison, thank you so much for being a guest speaker on my channel. And we will definitely be in touch again in the future. And I want to know about any more fascinating tales of Reiki experiences or any of that, because I just love talking to people about their different, not necessarily woo-woo all the time, but their different experiences. So I thank you so much.
Well, I've got plenty of stories of using Reiki in the corporate environment. So happy to share those with you at another time. So.
Yes, that would be great, because I'm sure that people need to know this, and especially now when people need to be just step into their own power, because we're supposed to be living our heart-based reality now. That's the message that I got from my higher self in 2021, is that it's time for everyone to start looking to their heart-based reality of what they truly want to do and what, purpose they came here for. So exactly. Absolutely. We got to encourage others to step away from the corporate lifestyle, because money is not everything. It's not. And our passion is
rips you like that. So.
It is like a boa constrictor or a python or something like that, and it's constantly squeezing for more.
But I truly believe that can change. My coworkers were fantastic when I started doing my sound meditations, and they were always like, when I said I was going to be visiting, they're like, "Oh, are you going to drive?" And because if I drove, that meant I was bringing all my singing bowls with me, and that I was going to do a sound event for them. And I would do that and just love that. And that's really what I want to do more of, are corporate wellness events. I've done these. I did some right before COVID shut everything down. A company up in Alpharetta had done, they were having their employee appreciation week. And they had me come in and do, the first part was more of a workshop conversation type. We took a break, and then the second part everyone was spread out on, the company had custom yoga mats made for them. They laid out on their new yoga mats, and I did a sound meditation for them. And so it was beautiful. And they wanted to do more of that, but of course, we all got locked up and couldn't be within 6 feet of each other. So,
Yeah.
but more to come, that will come. But yeah, I really want to help. I was always very kind of quiet when I was still in the corporate environment about what I was doing. Several people that were close to me knew what I was doing, but just the corporate environment can be better. It can be tolerable. It can be even enjoyable. But you just have to teach people how to work beyond the majority of the ego-driven behavior. Takes some discipline, but it can be done. And I really think that part of our shift into this new world is that whatever corporations survive, that this big shift is that they're going to have to do business in a totally different way. And I would love to help them, to teach the employees now how to interact with each other on an energetic level. Okay. And things can be done a better way. And so that's where all my project management and vendor management and quality and all the rest of it comes in. I've got that part of it. Now let me teach you the other part that really kind of makes things work, the energetic piece of it. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Have a feeling that those of us who love this type of work will be really, really busy in the coming years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to amp up, all of these different things. And we definitely have an entire population in the world to heal. So we need more of you and me and everybody else who wants to help.
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready, willing, and able. So looking forward to it.
Well, that's what we're here for. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. And I will be posting all of your information with the video so that people can get in touch with you. And they can also do a Zoom call or do some sort of online Reiki sessions with you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Until next time.